let's talk about stripping screws and how you're not going to do that anymore because you're tired of it, you're frustrated, you want some tips, some techniques that's going to improve the likelihood that you can just sink screws, not strip the head. And once you strip the head on the screw, it's a can of worms, right? How do you take it out, right? Like maybe you're lucky and you could get some vice grips on it and back out or something like that. But I mean, wouldn't it be great if you just weren't stripping them to begin with? You see other people do it with proficiency. You go to do it and just immediately round the screw off. So let's talk about this and how you're going to improve this. So first of all, stability, right? So I'm going to take a screw and I'm going to put it in something here, right? And like, oh, it like rolls away, like, because you got to put pressure, right? You got to put pressure on it. And if the thing you're working on is all moving around, well, you're not setting yourself up for success. And that's kind of something that like a skilled tradesperson or somebody proficient with things like cordless tools, they do without talking about it or even noticing that they're doing it at this point. They'll walk up and, okay, just set that, prep that. Like it's inherent. And if you're just learning this stuff for the first time, you probably don't even notice it happening, but they set themselves up well. So it's not a funny angle and a hard reach and an unstable surface. And so give yourself the opportunity for success by working with a stable platform. And that's going to be the first thing that I want you to do. This next thing is really important. This is like the number one thing everyone's doing wrong here. So we got a screw. We're going to put this screw in, right? So I'm going to take that screw. We're just going to get it started here. All right. So right now it's all going good so far. And you can probably see from your angle there, if I, get funny with the angle like that, what's going to happen when I pull the trigger? Well, obviously I'm going to start rounding the screw off because I'm totally on a funny angle here, and that's angle of attack. It's so important when using a drill. It's easy to say. It's harder to do because there's a couple of things going on here. Like you're applying a good amount of pressure and you're trying to pull the trigger, and some drills are more responsive than others. Like, I don't know if you saw that. There's like a 1/4 second delay. I don't like this drill for that 1/4 second delay. Some have that, some don't. Some have a variable speed trigger, which is very sensitive to your RPM pull. Some of the cheaper tools don't have that. Some of the old like corded drills have no speed control at all. So if you hit the trigger at all, it's just maximum speed, and you can't put in screws like that. That's crazy. So talking about this pressure, this is the combination of the pressure and the angle of attack really is the problem, right? Like the angle of attack you could get, and if it was just like, do that, keep it perfect, no problem. But you can't do that. You have to get some pressure onto the screw or you're going to round the head off as soon as the screw becomes partially buried and becomes resistant to going any further. That's when you're going to encounter a problem where if you're not applying enough pressure, then you're going to start rounding off the screw head. But if you apply too much pressure, like these little screws here are not that strong. If I put my whole upper body weight on it, I can just fold that screw over or break it, and that's not good. You know what's even worse? You're getting a screw started, right? And you go to lean on it, and you could really do a lot of damage to yourself with like even just a square number 2 Robertson, a red Robertson tip, or a red Robertson bit if you slip off the screw because you're applying too much pressure too early. So that's the tip here. Yes, you need pressure, but it's variable pressure. It's less at the beginning and more at the end of the screw. As you get to the end of the screw is when you have to apply more pressure. So right now I can just kind of do that. I can just hold it at arm's length, but I can feel it. It's going to start to slip because I'm not strong enough to push down like that. So I have to come over here and get some pressure on it. But the heavy pressure didn't come until later. It starts with light pressure and then you get some more pressure on it as you're further down. As the screw is further sunken in, it's more stable inherently. When it's only just in there by the tip and you go to push heavily on it, it doesn't take much to make it fold over or even break. But as we get deeper and deeper, there's just less there for it to fold or break. So that's my next tip for you. So here's the thing. The right bit. So that screw that I put in there is a Robertson, the square head ones, right? So what about if you're working with Phillips screws, the star-shaped ones, and you're like, well, when I do that, it rounds off more readily. The square one's better. Yes, the square one is better. Why are you using Phillips screws? There are times, like especially like something like drywall, where you're going to see Phillips screws a lot. But outside of that, like, did you choose the screws that you're using here? Maybe you chose the wrong screws for the wrong application. That would be pretty common, actually. And in any situation where I have the availability to do so, I will choose a Robertson head because that square profile really grabs well for doing something like heavy torque driving of long screws. So if you're using Phillips, I wonder if maybe you could use Robertson instead. Here's the thing. Are you using the screwdrivers themselves? You know, like I've got this Phillips here. And is this you? You're trying to drive some screws and man, like I'm pretty darn skilled with a screwdriver, but I'd be hard pressed to make that process look good. You know, I think gone are the days of manually driving screws with a handheld driver, just in favor of the ready availability of cordless tools these days. Like this one I'm holding here, I really like this one. I talk about it a lot because it's a 12-volt drill, which is pretty small by modern capacity. Like modern cordless tools are 20 or more volts. So this one's small, right? But it's still very capable. Like I can sink long screws with this. Interestingly here, let's try to just sink one of these, what is that, 3.5 inch deck screw. Let's see how this goes. Oh yeah, like absolutely no problem at all. And I'm on the high speed setting. If I wanted more torque, you go to the low speed setting, the 1 versus the 2. It goes slower, but it is more torque. Yeah, I could drive that thing as far as I wanted. And again, this is a small drill. It's not even technically the right tool for the job. Impact drivers are all the rage these days. And they look, you know, something like this guy here, or this one came with that drill that I bought. And you know you have one because it makes like an impact noise when it comes under tension here. Let's give you the example. Oh, that sounds fun. Well, you know, if you're going to build a wood deck and drive 10,000 long screws, probably this is the tool for the job. You know, more times than not, I just don't even have that with me. I just have the cordless drill, and that's enough for drilling a handful of screws for small projects and things like that. So here's a tip I want to give you. And this is really something that everybody should do. If you want to get better at this and stop rounding off screws, then you just get yourself, like I've just got this little niblet of a piece of wood for this application, but really like get yourself a great big piece of wood, you know, a nice long piece of this 4x4 or something like that, and just spend time getting a little bit better at that, getting better at the pressure equation. Don't round them off. If you start to round off a screw, so let's say I'm doing this, right? Doing my little example here, and like, uh-oh, something's wrong. Yeah, take that. Okay, so now what do? Well, let's, fix the angle of attack, right? And we'll keep going? Not me. Take that sucker out of there. Once you start rounding off the screw, get rid of it. It's not going to do anything for you except cause more problems. Screws are cheap. Grab a new one and put it in there. Because if you've already started rounding it and you keep going now, the chances of you rounding it off more are much higher than before. So I'd rather just take that out, use the pilot hole from the last one, and then just put a new screw in there. So get yourself a big box of screws, big chunk of random old wood, and just practice putting them in. And then you know what? Practice taking them out too. Screws have like a limited life. They get very hot when you're doing this process. Like if you were to drive that all the way and then pull it out and touch it, it would probably burn your skin. It needs a couple of seconds to cool down. So you do that a couple of times and these metals get stressed out, and eventually you would snap the top off. So I don't recommend just using the same screws over and over again, though you could probably get away with 1 or 2 or possibly 3 or more uses. So that's it. Just practice a little more. Work on your angle of attack. Get yourself a decent tool to work with. Choose the right screw head for the application, which is Robertson if you can get away with using it, basically, just because it's the least likely one to strip and round off. So I don't know. One more tip for you. if you're inclined to be a person who rounds off screws regularly. See this little bit, or this set of extractor bits here? So these are that tool you would use if, let's say I rounded one of these ones off horribly, just terribly rounded it off. No hope to ever be able to get it back out of there. One of these has a reverse thread on it. So as I would screw it in normally, it will dig in. Don't get me talking about tools. I really can start to ramble on here. The point I wanted to drive home is that you just need to practice, but the one thing I didn't say is that start with a short screw. The shorter the screw, the easier it's going to be, and slowly graduate up, longer and longer, until you can, a 3 or 4 inch screw. By the time that you can sink one of those without rounding the head off, you're doing very well. I hope you found this information helpful. Just remember, I'm technically Steve. It would technically help you to like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. So hopefully I'll see you later.